Hi, my name is Doug Firebaugh, and I'd like to welcome you to this Passion Fire Secrets Series CD, which is part of the targeted training program of Passion Fire International. We designed the targeted training program for one purpose: to target specifically what you need to learn and do it in bite-sized chunks to where you can learn them easily. The content on the CD is fresh, unique, and different. We encourage you to learn each track and integrate it into your business, not only to take your actions to a higher level, but also your thinking to a higher level in your life. We hope that the information will help you build a great business, and also be a blessing in your life. Hey, this is Doug Firebaugh, and welcome to the Secrets of the Psychology of Money. And I'm really glad that we have an opportunity to spend some time together on this CD, because this is something that I believe honestly that everybody needs to know about, or the secrets about the psychological aspects of money. Now, many people today in network marketing, they're doing all the right things. They're doing the prospecting, the approaching, the presenting, the follow-up, the getting the decision, the retailing, the training. They're doing everything that they are supposed to do, but yet, for whatever reason, many people in network marketing are not earning the money they want. Why? Well, it has a lot to do with their psychological, emotional connection, if you will, with money. The psychological aspects of their culture growing up, and the psychological aspects, if you will, of their family culture, of their school culture, of their what they learned in all the different areas, such as church and such as high school and middle school and even kindergarten. Let me ask you a question. What do you think the difference is between, well, let's say the conversations that the average family holds at the dinner table versus the wealthy family? Now, you've got two houses. One house, you've got families sitting around a table, and they're just average middle America, probably combined income $40,000, $50,000 a year. And then you've got the wealthy, which is probably $40,000, $50,000 a month or even a week. What do you think the two different conversations are? Well, middle America, the average family, they're going to talk about many different things. What happened today, which is obviously something that, we all talk about. But many focus on what they don't have. See, this is key, because growing up, many times we will hear these types of sayings, if you will. We will hear these types of thought processes. We will hear these types of discussions that totally start moving us mentally in a path, in a direction that can be totally damaging to our quote-unquote respect and also understanding of wealth, money, and abundance. Many times, middle America families, when they start talking, they'll start talking and complaining about, well, we can't afford that. Things that totally shortchange any type of future that you're trying to build, within your own mind. We all heard all the different types of conversations growing up. So the focus, and you got to understand this, the focus of the average family at dinner time is talking about how bad things are today at work, talking about, well, something such and such did this, and I can't believe my boss said this. And also, something, I just wish there's something I could do. I'm just so tired of the rat race. But on the other hand, the wealthy family, let's take a look at what they're talking about. They're talking about things that are totally programming their children in a radically different way. They're not talking about what's going bad, or they're not talking about how things are quote-unquote so bad. What they're doing is they're talking about what they got planned. They're talking about what's coming up, the future. They're making even plans and talking about what their blueprint is for the future versus complaining about what they have in their life now. And the two different mindsets create two starkly different results. What did you grow up hearing, if you will, at the dinner table? That is a great question. I know when I grew up hearing, and I'm sure you grew up hearing a lot of the same things. Very simply, the average conversation at dinner is about lack usually complaining, talking about, well, mediocrity, and also talking about things that are, again, programming us all when growing up. And unfortunately, they did a pretty good job. And don't get me wrong. Please don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with being, quote unquote, average American. That's just a philosophy of life. But on the other hand, the wealthy have their own philosophy, and that is they're making plans for the future. They're making plans and talking about the future in front of their kids, talking about creating a better future, a blueprint of much more success, because one talks of survival and the other talks of success. Those are the biggest differences, and that's what starts the situation that creates the psychological aspects of money. All right, what we're going to talk on this track is about something that I believe is very important, and it's simply about money barriers. You know that there are barriers many times where we go driving, if you will, and we'll get in a car and we'll just drive down the road, and there may be barriers of people constructing things and you can't get through, so you have to do a detour, or you have to turn around and go back. Well, there are actual money barriers on our success path that we have thrown up, if you will, and they all deal with, well, basically just one thing: our emotional attachments to different beliefs about money. See, our emotional attachments were actually learned growing up, and not only from our family, but also from our friends, from their parents, we learned it in school, we learned it even from coaches, and sometimes even in church, the money barriers that we can throw up that can totally create a stifling of true creation of any type of financial security in our life. We learn them from conversations, we learn them from the media, because all you have to do is listen to the media and they'll tell you just how bad things are. Well, guys, understand this. Money barriers are something that if they are learned, they can be unlearned. If we've learned these money barriers growing up, they can be unlearned, because anything that's learned, it may take a little bit, but you can unlearn it. Now, what are some of the money barriers that we feel? Number one is a feeling of unworthiness. Many times we feel unworthy, if you will, of growing up. We might have had, I can relate to this one, we might have had a lot of times people criticizing us, being negative to us, people telling us we can't do something, people telling us we're stupid, many different things like that create unworthy feelings of ourselves. And because of that, it's going to throw up a money barrier of unworthiness. Another one is fear. You might have grown up in a household where there was constant talking of, we're not going to have enough money to pay this month's rent, or we're not going to have enough money this month for the mortgage or for the car or whatever it is. And that emotional attachment you learned and was poured into you, and it became a barrier within your heart and within your mind, if you will, of being able to go out and feel comfortable with money. Because you always, when money was talked about, there was always that fear, or there's always that feeling of unworthiness. Another money barrier that happens many times is a total lack focus. Many times growing up and many times talking and learning this even in school, people will tell you that, there's just not enough to go around. You've got to make sure that what you have, you invest and you spend, because there's not going to be a whole lot. And we become attached to this lack belief, which is totally erroneous. And because of that, that throws up a money barrier that we don't believe that in our life that there's a whole lot more than what we've got. Another money barrier is culture. Growing up in a family or growing up in some type of a culture that teaches you, if you will, that $40,000 a year is basically what you'll make, and then you'll retire at the age of 65 on probably about $1,200 a month. The culture literally focuses you in and creates an expectation of that amount, and you don't go above that amount. You make and maintain for the rest of your life somewhere within $5,000 to $10,000 of that amount. And that money barrier becomes a cultural barbed wire fence that you'll never cross. And see, these types of emotional attachments all the time impact us. Another emotional attachment many people have, not only from the standpoint of fear or from culture or from lack, is also of expectations. Because many times we will be taught simply from watching and learning people of what to expect, but also what not to expect. Because again, people have a lack mentality, but their expectations many times can be even worse. These are the types of money barriers that are thrown up at us. We've learned them, and because of that, we carry them with us for the rest of our life. And our emotional attachment totally is disconnected to the power that money can do and create in our life and also help others. You must move past your money barriers, and these are just a few. But understand, these are the biggest ones, because if you have any one of these types of money barriers in your life, then what you need to do is you need to start breaking through them, and we're going to help you. All right, on this track, what we're going to do is we're going to cover a question. So as a matter of fact, several questions that I want to ask you about money. The first question is, what is it? What actually is money? Many people have many different answers, but let me give you an answer that totally revolutionized and changed my paradigm on it. All money is a catalyst. It makes things happen. That's it. It can be it could be a scorecard. It can be something else, but I'm talking about real life. It is a catalyst that can make things happen in your life and others' lives. And because of that, if you understand that money's nothing more than something that can catalyze things to happen, then that should shift your paradigm. Because money's not something that is some huge power and energy or anything like that. It's a catalyst. It just simply has a power to make things happen. And you need to focus in on creating a catalyst in your life and creating enough of the catalyst that anything that you want in life to happen, you can make happen. Here's another one. How do you feel about money? When you think about money, how do you honestly feel? What do you feel inside? A lot of people feel really nervous. When I mention this, making $500,000 a year, you know, many people in seminars that I'm blessed to do, they feel like nervous inside. They get a knot in their stomach. I say, imagine opening up a check for $75,000. And when they start thinking about it, they start getting nervous. They start getting anxious. Well, what one word describes your feelings when you think about money? Is it fear? Is it maybe lack? Is it a lack of belief you'll ever have any? Or is it hope? Is it positive? And is it exciting to you? Your emotional attachment and the emotion you feel that you have attached to the image of money is going to weigh heavy into what happens in your life concerning money. Now here's another question. What one word would describe, if you will, not only the emotion that you feel about money when you think about it, but what one word emotion did you feel growing up? In your house, what was the emotion you felt whenever the discussion and the talk of money happened? Well, see, this is what we have learned. Because instead of money being a catalyst, many times it can be a reverse, and it could be something that could be more of an enemy than a catalyst. Because we can look at it as something that works against our lives and something that for whatever reason doesn't like us. And that's crazy, I know, but many people think that money for whatever reason just doesn't appear in their life because, you know, they grew up and apparently they've done something wrong or whatever. Wrong. That is so in error. Money is neutral. It doesn't care. The only thing money is just a tool that can catalyze things in your life, period. Nothing more or nothing less. One final question. Let's imagine that you built a business. And not only you built a business, but it was hugely successful and worldwide. And you were making $1 million a year. Now imagine not only that, your income being $1 million a year, but what could you do to help people? What could you do to help your friends or to help orphanages or to help charities or to help your church or to help your temple? What could you do? See, this is the other side of it, because now you're probably thinking, wow, man, you know, I could help this charity, or I could help this association, or I could help this church or that temple or that. Guys, understand this. That is where you need to focus, because now you're looking at money as a catalyst, not as something that is, well, an enemy, if you will. All money is a catalyst. It makes things happen. And how you feel about money, when you think about money, the emotion that you have inside is either a money barrier or it is a doorway to wealth. Let me repeat that. It is either, that emotion's either a money barrier or a doorway to wealth. And it totally depends upon what emotion you have and how it's attached, if you will, to the image that you have of money. Because many people see money as something that they'll never have, and many people see money as something that they must have because they want to make a difference not only in their life but others' lives. All money is a catalyst. It makes things happen in your life and others' lives as well. What we're going to cover on this track now are basically what we call the 4 lifestyles. What are they? Well, they're the lifestyles that we all can live or not live. It really depends upon what you want. What I want you to do is get a piece of paper. And I want you to, you got it? All right, get a piece of paper. And what I want you to do is just put it and divide it into 4 equal sections. Otherwise, upper left, upper right, lower left, lower right. Kind of like the Red Cross has their cross. Just put it kind of like a T, if you will, in the middle of the paper and divide it into 4 equal sections. Otherwise, divide it into quarters. Now, on the upper left-hand side, what I want you to do is I want you to write the word survival. Okay? Write the word survival. On the lower left-hand side, I want you to write the word ordinary. Just write it in that lower left-hand side, ordinary. And then on the upper right-hand side, what I want you to do is write the word upscale. And then on the bottom right-hand side, I want you to write the word extraordinary. So upper left is survival, lower left is ordinary or average, upper right is upscale, lower right is extraordinary. Now understand, 90% of the people in America, and even in the world, 90% live their life on the left-hand side, either survival or just living an ordinary life. And there's nothing wrong with that, don't get me wrong. But 90% live their life either surviving or being just average, mediocre, if you will. Now, 7% live the upscale life. And otherwise, that's like a 6-figure income. And then their lower right-hand side is extraordinary. Less than 3% really live the extraordinary life. And these are the ones that truly make a phenomenal amount of wealth and income a year. Now, what is the difference? Well, again, a lot of it has to do with how you grew up, your emotional attachment, if you will, to money, the money barriers or lack of money barriers in your life, and whether the emotions are either create a wall in front of you as far as money or create an open door to all the wealth that you want. It's up to you. Now, what I would suggest doing is take a look at these. Where are you? Are you in the survival mode, the average mode, the upscale mode, or the extraordinary mode? Because these are the 4 lifestyles that people follow in their life. The people that survive in life generally learn to survive. The people that live the ordinary life, they learn to live the ordinary life, because we all have a tendency to follow in our parents' footsteps, for the most part, where they were with money. Now, on the upscale part, you can always break away from that, by the way. You can always make a decision to create a new emotional attachment to money and start creating an upscale life with your business in network marketing to create that 6-figure income. Or you can get really, really serious and start creating an extraordinary life with extraordinary income, because network marketing offers you that. Now, how would you like to be able to recruit utilizing these 4 lifestyles? Because again, it really is an eye-opener to where people are. Well, this is how you do it. Many times I would sit down with somebody and just over conversation or even doing an enrollment process, I would say, well, let me show you the 4 types of lifestyles that pretty much are available. And I'd make this little cross, if you will, and then on the upper left, survival, lower left, average, upper right, upscale, lower right, extraordinary. And I would say, now these are the 4 lifestyles pretty much that are available today. Which side of this model do you see yourself on, or would you like to be? Which side of this model would you like to be on? Again, people will look at it, and the largest portion will say, well, I want to be on the right-hand side, the upscale and the extraordinary. But understand this, there are still things that happen within them that will hinder them from hitting the upscale or extraordinary life unless they make a conscious decision to be able to focus in and change their connection and change their emotional attachments and their perception of money to something that truly works for them, such as it is a catalyst, it's neutral, it's available, it's everywhere. All you have to do is understand it. So these are the 4 types of lifestyle that most people live: survival, average, upscale, extraordinary. Where are you? And you can even utilize this in your recruiting presentations by simply showing this and say, which side of the model do you see yourself on, or would you like to be? The 4 lifestyles, don't limit yourself to just to the survival or average. Shoot for at least upscale and then move into the extraordinary. All right, on this track, what we're going to cover is basically what we grew up hearing. You know, we all kind of grew up in a lifestyle, if you will, if you're average middle America like I grew up, we grew up hearing certain things, and a lot of these probably things will make you smile. But you may be asking, what creates, honestly, the emotional attachments, the money barriers, the fears, how we perceive money, why we don't see money as a catalyst, but we see money as more of something that we pursue and never catch? It's something that other people have, but we don't. Well, it's very simple. A lot of it had to do with the seeds that were planted in us at a very young age. Because when you plant apple seeds, you're going to get apples. When you plant orange seeds, you're going to get orange. When you plant these money barrier seeds, and these are unfortunately less than, well, let's just say enlarged seeds, they're shrinking seeds because they shrink our perception of money, then what's going to happen is you're going to get fruit of that. What we grew up hearing many times, and it doesn't matter, it could be family, it could be teachers, it could be many different places, but the seeds that we heard many times growing up in our life, this created the fruit of what is disconnecting us to money, what is creating that not only disconnect to what money is and coming in our life, but literally resisting it. Do you realize that many people resist money? Why do they do that? Because, again, emotional attachments. They don't feel worthy of it. They're fearful of it. And many other things as we've gone over in the other track. What did we grow up hearing? What are the seeds that were planted in our hearts and into our minds that we constantly heard growing up? One of them is, what do you think money grows on? Trees? I mean, I grew up hearing that. What do you think? Money grows on trees, Doug? See, this is one of those seeds that literally can totally take you out of, if you will, the wealth creation process. Because when you grow up thinking, well, come on, Doug, what do you think? Money grows on trees? And I'm sure you've heard that. What happens? That is a message saying that money's limited and that it's hard to come by. Another one is, what do you think I'm made of? Money? I'm sure we all heard something along those lines growing up many times. What do you think I'm made of? Money? Well, see, again, this tells us that money is limited, money is lacking, and money is something that's hard to come by. Another one is, well, let me ask you a question. Do you think that we can afford that? Or we can't afford that this month? Or, you know, something that's out of our price range. What that tells us growing up is that money, again, is limited. Money is something that's hard to come by, and these seeds are constantly being planted in us. Now, if you're from the South like I am, you heard don't get above your raisin. What that means, if you're not from the South, basically is you were born in this city, and don't get above the family culture. Don't get above the family line. Don't get above your raisin. Well, that's probably one of the most damaging things that a lot of Southerners ever heard. Another one is, what do you think? Money is easy to come by? See, these are the types of seeds that are planted that the fruit of them are the emotional attachments, the psychological aspects, the money barriers that we put in our lives, the erroneous perspectives of money, the perception that money is limited, all the things that help us resist money and reject money. Yes, you heard me correctly. Reject money. Many times because of these seeds that are planted in our life, and many times innocently, they teach us that money is hard to come by, it's not easy to come by, so we reject it because we didn't have a lot growing up, so that is, in our mind, is the picture of life. Because all of these sayings and seeds that were planted in our minds painted a picture of life as far as what money does with life and how it connects to life. And when you grow up hearing these things, then unfortunately, it can work against you. But I got great news. You can do the opposite. You can take control right now and start pouring in new thoughts and pouring in new seeds that literally will change your perspective, change your emotional attachment, change your perception, change your paradigm on money simply by writing out what I call personalizations about money. Such as, I have decided that I make 6 figures a year. I have decided I make $20,000 a month. I have decided that I make an extra $3,000 a month. I have decided I make. These are the types of things that totally can short circuit what you grew up learning. Like if you grew up thinking, what do you think, money grows on trees? You simply say, I have decided that money grows in my bank account. See, again, these are the types of things that will change your emotional attachments, that will help you break through the money barriers, and then just record them on a CD or a audio tape, and then listen to them daily. Because again, we're going to come out, by the way, with a rescripting CD for network marketers, totally focused on helping you to break through those money barriers and be able to have the freedom you need to earn the money that you want. So what you grow up hearing becomes what you grew up living as far as money. On that last track, we went over what we grew up hearing. And we all heard basically a lot of the same things. But what are the impacts? What happens and what creates that emotional attachment, the money barriers, the paradigm? How does that happen? What forms in our mind? Well, it's very simple. I want you to draw a triangle. Just a very simple triangle. And on the left-hand side, I want you to write emotions. And on the right-hand side, I want you to write pictures. And then underneath, I want you to write DSI, which stands for Dominant Sensory Input. Now, this is the money model. And I want to talk with you about this because this is very important you understand what the seeds, the fruit of it. This is the actual fruit of the seeds growing up of what you heard. On the left-hand side are emotions, right-hand side are pictures, and underneath is DSI, Dominant Sensory Input. And in the middle, I want you to write the letter A, put a line right underneath it, and then underneath the line write R. Either A over R, okay? Now this is the fruit of what happens, if you will, when we grew up hearing, what do you think money's made, what do you think money grows on trees, what do you think I'm made of, money? These create the fruit of the emotional disconnects to money, the emotional attachments of fear, the emotional attachments of lack, all these things. But what happens is psychologically, let's take a look at the emotions. These things we grew up seeing and hearing about money created emotions that worked against us. Again, the emotions of fear, of lack, of disbelief that money is for you, unworthiness, it created emotions. Now, the emotions that we have and grew up seeing and feeling and forming, then they formed pictures, which is on the right-hand side in our mind. They formed pictures, and they're pictures of thinking and expectations of money. Otherwise, they could be pictures of thinking that money is easy to come by and that you will have a lot in your life, or thinking that money will never be a part that much of your life, and expectations that money will always be limited. So the seeds of those what we learn, the saying, if you will, of what we heard growing up, creates emotions which then birth pictures in our mind. And that thinking and also the expectations then start creating pictures in our mind of how we see life. And we always have a tendency to move towards the pictures in our mind. Did you get that? We all have a tendency to move our life towards the pictures in our minds. Well, right underneath, emotions on the left, pictures on the right underneath is dominant sensory input. Otherwise, what happens then, because of the emotions and the pictures we have in our mind and emotions in our heart, then suddenly whatever we feel about the sensory input as far as conversation with people and seeing life limited and all that, the dominant sensory input then becomes the determining factor, if you will, of where our life is headed as far as money. So here's the question. What can you do about it? Well, right in the middle of this triangle is the letter A over R. Otherwise, you can accept what you've learned is real in the truth, or underneath this R, you can reject it and form new emotions, new pictures, and then new dominant sensory input. And by the way, all DSI is just simply, what do you think? Money grows on trees? Or, you know something, money is so easy to come by. It's the sensory input that you feel, you hear, and you see constantly. And see, this is how you can start changing the emotions that are working against you and the pictures that are working against you, because now you can start inputting new sensory material, such as constant listening to audios about money. Because understand, most people, they don't understand the emotions that they have and the pictures that they're forming of lack in their life, all are because of the dominant sensory input you had growing up. What you heard, what you saw, what you felt growing up in your family, and also even today. But see, in the middle, you can either accept it as truth or reject it as truth. And if you have a lack limitation, an unbelief that money's going to be truly a part of your life, then you need to reject that right now and start creating and focusing in on building new emotions, new pictures, and new input in your mind and heart, that money not only is going to be a major part of your life, but it's going to be a catalyst that will radically change your life as well as help hundreds of other people in your group as well. Okay, what we just went over basically was what I call the money model, the fruit of the seeds of what we learned growing up, which obviously your emotions, you saw emotions, felt their emotions, heard the emotions about money, which then you took on as your emotions, and then they formed pictures in your mind also of what you saw growing up. Well, they became your pictures because of the dominant sensory input, or the DSI, constantly, even today, and you basically accepted that as the truth about life. Well, again, I encourage you to reject that, because there's so much more to life than you could ever imagine. Well, see, this money model then moves into, starts developing relationship with money. Do you realize that you have a relationship with money? That is so true. And your relationship with money determines a lot of what happens in your life or doesn't happen in your life with the function of money. What I want you to do is I want you to get another sheet of paper, and I want you to draw a thermometer. We're going to take your temperature on money. Just have a little bulb at the bottom, and draw it the length of the paper, and I want you to divide it in the thermometer into 4 equal sections. Start at the top of the bulb, if you will, at the bottom, and then divide it into 4 equal sections, because we're going to take your temperature to see where you are as far as money. Now at the bottom, what I want you to do is I simply want you to write negative. This is a negative relationship with money, which many people have, and the fruit of that is worry. Because when you have a negative relationship with money, you think not only that you're going to lose what you have, and we will probably have less next month than this month. It's worry. You worry about paying the bills. You worry and fret about all the different things that probably are going to happen because you don't have the money you need. And a negative relationship also keeps money at a distance. Even though you don't have the money that you need, you have a negative relationship with it. You feel negative about money because growing up you heard nothing but negatives about money. So that's what you developed. It became your emotions, then your pictures, and still because of what you believe, it still is your reality today. So again, the bottom level, the very lowest form of relationship with money is negative, and the fruit of that is worry. The next level up is neutral. A neutral relationship with money, and the fruit of that is apathy. Basically what that means is you just don't care. You got enough to pay your bills? Hey baby, rock on, don't need any more. You become apathetic and your life stagnates. The third level, first is negative, then second is neutral, then the third level is positive. Well, this is where that you really truly have a positive relationship with money. You know next year you are going to make more money than this year. It may only be 10% more, 6% more, but you know that's going to happen. And the fruit of that is hope, because you always have the hope of a better future, a better life next year, more money. And this is where that many people need to be, but they're not, because they're either negative or apathetic about money. When you have a positive relationship with it, this is where your true expectations are. I'm going to have more next year, and as a matter of fact, I'm going to have more this year. And it creates a hope for the future and destiny that many people do not have. And the top level is energized. What this means is when you're energized about money, then the fruit of that is certainty. You are absolutely certain that not only you're going to have money next year, much more than you have now, but it's going to happen next month. You have a certainty about life that most people don't have. You have a certainty about your future and a certainty about your destiny that many people don't have. So where are you on this relationship thermometer? Are you negative, where the fruit of it is worry? Are you neutral, where the fruit of it is apathy, or you just don't care? Are you positive, where the fruit of it is hope, because you always have the hope of a better tomorrow? Or are you having energized, where you truly are energized and connected with the power and catalyst of money? And then you're certain, you have a certainty that you walk in that certainty that most people could never even know exists. Most people today do not walk in certainty, and most do not walk in the hope of a better tomorrow. They have stagnated because of the emotions in the pictures. They have a very low relationship with money. May I make a suggestion that you start working on at least a positive relationship and work up to an energized relationship, because that certainty can be worth millions to you in the future, at least a six-figure income. This track, what we're going to go over are the silent signals. Now, we've been going over the seeds that we were deposited in us growing up that created the emotions, the pictures, and the dominant sensory input, because that's the reason why people look at life either survival, being average or upscale or extraordinary. All that depends on the seeds growing up we heard and read and conversations we had. Well, then that obviously produced not only the pictures, but then it produced the relationship we have with money. Well, now you got to understand why the silent signals are so important, because if you're going to talk about money and your compensation plan to anyone, you've got to make sure that your silent signals are not working against what you're saying. It's called radiation. Because understand this, when you're sitting there and talking to anybody about money, you're radiating certain things, if you will, that you may not be aware that you're radiating. See, we radiate struggle or we radiate success. We radiate either victory or being a victim. We either radiate lack or radiate no limits, and it all depends upon the seeds and the fruit that were sown in our life that we've accepted as truth. And most of the time, limited, lack, or even survival thinking is what many people bring to the table when they are doing a compensation plan. You may have the most wonderful presentation in the world, but if your silent signals about money are turning people off, then it doesn't matter how good you are, they're going to be turned off. Number one is the silent signal is, what are you radiating? Number two are your words. Many people have, if you will, words that work against them, like many people use the word need, or many people use the word lack, or or can't or never. See, these are words as far as money goes that is going to turn people off. See, people with no limit mentality in their words, they use the word like multiply. They use the words enlarge. They use the words expand or increase. And see, people that create these types of conversations with people, they always use words that look to the future. Because people that use words that look to the future, they're the ones that are connected to money. Those that basically look to the present or even the past, those are the ones that mainly have a disconnect. So what are you radiating as far as in your presence, in your vocal cords, in your eyes, in your body language? Are you radiating success, struggle? What about your words? The third is the look in your eye. The silent signals, the look in your eye, guys, tells so much. Because if the look in your eye is not focused, on fire, and totally excited and energized about what you're saying about money, then many times your words can sound excited, but the look in your eye can totally tell a different story. And many times it does. How about the sound in your voice? Somebody that is totally connected and understands the power and the catalyzation of money in their life, they're going to have a sound in their voice that's confident, that is strong, that has an energy to it, that has faith in it. And see, one of the phrases that many people utilize that, well, it's just basically a sign of strength is, you know something, this may not be for you. I don't know. See, that is sound in your voice, and what you say can totally tell people you're going to the top with or without them. The silent signals that you have, guys, can work so much against you, not only in what you radiate in your presence, words, and what people hear, but also the actual words you use, and negative words like can't and won't and will not. Never use those when talking about money. Always talk about possibility. Always talk about hope and probabilities, multiplying, enlarging. The look in your eye has to be totally focused, knowing that you're going to the top. The sound in your voice, same thing. Confident, strength, energy. And finally, the silent signal are your expectations. Because again, what you expect, people feel, and they will respond to what they're feeling in your expectations. So when you give a compensation presentation, you need to radiate nothing but strength. You need to have words that focus nothing but the future and multiplying life. You need to have a look in the eye that totally is sharp, focused, and intent. You need to have a sound in your voice that's confident, strong, energetic, and hopeful. And then you need to have expectations that it's impossible for you to fail. You'll never have to mention those words. They'll feel it. That is creating the signals that work for you, not against you. Because if you have silent signals of struggle, of lack, the same thing with words, a defeated look in your eye, a defeated sound in your voice, and expectations, then when you do a compensation plan, even if you're going, oh, I hope this works, they will hear that in the echoes of every word you're saying. What are your silent signals sending out? Whatever they're sending out is going to come back. All right, we just got finished going through the silent signals. We've gone through the temperature gauge or the relationship with money. We've also covered the emotions, the pictures, the dominant sensory inputs, your silent signals. All of these things add up in order to create a picture that people feel about where you are as far as money. Now, here's the question. Why do the rich folks, if you will, the wealthy, as some people call it, I call them friends, why is it that the wealthy have different conversations than the average people? What is it? Well, we understand that they've got a totally different focus, totally different mindset, expectations. But understand this. The wealthy of the world are connected to what money truly is, and let's just say the average people that are struggling and just living the average life, they have a disconnect to what it truly is. And because of this, the wealthy maintain a connection and it grows stronger for them. And unfortunately, the mediocre, they disconnect, and the disconnect grows further away if not stopped. And that's what I want to talk to you about this track is, are you connected or disconnected? Because again, connection is everything in electricity. You know that and I know that. Because if you're not connected to electricity as far as like on a hot July day and it's 105 degrees, especially down in Dallas, Texas, it can get up to 115. If you're not connected to electricity, the air conditioner is not going to work. Well, understand this. It's the same thing with money. It's the same thing with wealth and a future of security, financial security. You'll never create what you want in money if you're not connected to it and the power that lies within it. Because I don't understand why money was created. God created it for His purposes, obviously. All I know is it's there. But you've got to have a connection. What type of connection? Number one, you've got to have a connection in your perception of it. Your perception of it must be that you're worthy, that money truly is so vast, so much out there, that all you have to do is go after it, and that money does not just lie in a single paycheck. Did you get that? The wealthy do not look at money lying in one single paycheck. And see, that's the biggest cancer, if you will, in America and the world today, is most people's perception have a total disconnect to multitudes of different ways to earn money. They always have that one paycheck perception. Well, that's a total disconnect to reality and the truth. Wealthy people also have a connection, and number two, an understanding of what money truly is. It's a catalyst and a tool that can help people, that can help enlarge their life, and it's something that can help catalyze to make things happen. They're also connected emotionally. Because again, they understand that it's okay in life if you do earn a lot of money. It's okay to have a nice car and a nice home. And it's okay to constantly be building a business or building a career that next year will be so much better than this year. Their emotions feel very comfortable with money because they're connected to it. Most people have a less than comfortable connection because they're disconnected to it. So their emotions are an emotion of comfort, where people live in the average life usually have an emotion of somewhat discomfort. They're also connected expectation-wise. People that make a lot of money expected to make a lot of money. And thusly, their emotions, their understanding, their perceptions were totally connected to those expectations. And everything they did, people felt those expectations. Imagine what would happen if you were connected to the power and the perception and the understanding and the emotions and the expectations of money when you did your own presentation as far as a compensation plan. People would fall out of their seat. They would be so impressed. And finally, the wealthy are connected to the potential of what money can do. Whether it's enlarging lives, whether it's enlarging businesses, helping cities, helping neighborhoods, building churches, building libraries, it doesn't matter. They're connected to the potential that money has as far as being able to create things that currently aren't there. So my suggestion is you create a strong connection. And the last track of this CD is going to give you some ideas on how not only to connect, but change radically your relationship, your perception, everything about money. Don't be disconnected like most people are. Create the connection of what money truly is. And by the way, it's okay to make a lot of money. You just got to get connected to that thought. Okay, on this track, what we're going to do is we're going to take you back for about a minute or two. What I want you to do is I want you to think about growing up. Now, probably money really wasn't talked about that much. Most people, that's another thing, by the way, that the difference between the wealthy and the average. The average really don't talk about money that much. The wealthy, they do talk about money because they understand the importance of educating their children about it. And I want you to go back and I want you to think about what you grew up seeing and understanding as far as the money that was coming into your home. For the most part, most people grew up with the father working and the mother as well, but they each had a job, which is nothing wrong with that. Thank God there are jobs because it helps put food on the table and pay the mortgage. But the father had a job and had a paycheck, and the mother had a job and had a paycheck, and they paid their bills, and then if they possibly tithed to their church, and maybe if at all saved a little bit, that's another thing. The difference between the wealthy and the average is the average person spends their money and invests what's left. Did you get that? The average person spends their money and invests what's left. The wealthy invests their money first, then spends what's left. That's a whole different teaching right there. So what did you grow up seeing? Odds are you probably grew up seeing that your dad and your mom probably had a job, or at least your dad, and there was one paycheck or two paychecks coming in, and then that's what you learned. That's what you saw, and that's what you internalized as quote unquote normal life. This is what life is. This is how life is supposed to be. This is normal, and it's traditional, because in America it's tradition. That's what we grow up hearing. What do? Well, you get an education, you go to college possibly, you get married, and then you get a job. That's tradition. Well, see, it developed what I call OPM. OPM, what is that? That type of growing up developed a one-paycheck mindset. And this one-paycheck mindset focused in and totally became the picture of how you perceived money was available. Because again, that's the difference between the wealthy and the ordinary. Ordinary sees money only available in one source. That is the paycheck coming in. Well, the wealthy sees money available in a multitude of sources, multiple streams. And that's the difference. One has a one paycheck mindset, and the wealthy have a multiple paycheck mindset. And that's why in network marketing, you need to move from a one paycheck mindset to a multiple paycheck mindset, because network marketing, for every leg that you build, for every business center you build, that's another paycheck. It just comes all wrapped in one bundle. Because again, if you look at how you grew up and you have a one paycheck mindset, tradition, family, culture, then odds are that's what you feel comfortable with. But let me paint a picture. Let's say that you just got back from Hawaii on a 10-day trip, and you go to your post office box, or you go outside of your house and you get in your mailbox and you have a check, and you look at it and it's $6,000 more than it was last month, and you didn't work for the last 10 to 12 days. And then suddenly you look at it and understand, wait a minute, wow. I remember that there were several new people that came into our business, and suddenly your volume went up and then your paycheck went up. Well, now, how did that happen? Very simple. Multiple downlines create a large paycheck. Otherwise, if you've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 business centers cranking or legs cranking, and then suddenly all this starts happening, then you're going to move from a one paycheck mindset to a multiple paycheck mindset. That's the difference between the wealthy and the average. Again, the average have an OPM, one paycheck mindset. And there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you want out of life. But in network marketing, you better move past that. You better move to a PPM, a power paycheck mindset, because you want a paycheck with power. You want a paycheck that truly will give you the power and become a catalyst, not only to help people and to make things happen, but then you walk in that certainty that from this point forward, you're going to help people to learn how to do the same thing. Multiple streams of revenues and income. You need to break through that OPM into a power paycheck mentality. The moment you do, then your paycheck will double. Okay, on this track, what I want to talk to you about is the golden rule of money. Now understand this. Most people, when they do a compensation plan and they sit down and start talking about money, whether it's over the phone or in front of people or even over the kitchen table, what happens is again, what their words are saying and what people are feeling from them, there's tension, there's a disconnect. Why? Because their words are saying one thing, but they're radiating something else because of how they grew up and the pictures in their mind, their expectations. You've heard all of that. Well, the golden rule of money in my mind, is something that if you focus in on, it can create such a radical shift and change in your relationship, how you perceive money, your understanding of it, your emotions, your expectations. The potential of it can radically change and shift. Imagine changing all these things. Imagine walking in a certainty that you knew that money was going to absolutely double every 6 months in your life. Imagine the type of compensation presentation that you can do. Imagine the recruiting that you could do with that type of energized certainty, because people are looking for certainty in life. And that is why that the golden rule of money works so well in creating a certainty within your life as far as finances. What is it? It's very simple. Do unto your money as you want it to do unto you. It's that simple. Do unto your money as you want it to do unto you. What does that mean? Well, it's very simple. If you want money to grow in your life, truly, honestly grow, then you've got to grow as a person. You've got to grow on the inside, your emotions, your expectations, your pictures, your dominant sensory input, your perception, your understanding, your expectations, the power and potential of it. You've got to grow on the inside and become more comfortable with money. You've definitely got to grow more comfortable. You've definitely got to grow more expectant of it, and you've got to grow more excited about the potential of it. Not only if you want money to grow, you've got to grow. If you want money to multiply, you've got to multiply. Because you've got to multiply on the inside and take what you're learning here and move it forward into your downline. Show them, tell them, share with them how to multiply the message. Another one is, if you want to make your money stretch, then you've got to stretch. You've got to get out of your comfort zone of belief, your comfort zone of emotion, your comfort zone of understanding, your comfort zone of expectations, your comfort zone that you grew up in expecting and feeling comfortable with this level of money, because that's what you know. You got to stretch beyond that in order for your money to stretch. If you want your money to enlarge, you must enlarge. You must enlarge your understanding of it, your research of it, your study of it. You must enlarge your perception of it. You must enlarge your expectations of it. And also, if you want your money to increase, you must increase. Not only must you increase in availability and understanding that money is totally unlimited, but you must also increase in the availability of yourself. You must increase the expectations of revenue sources. You must increase the expectation of downline people coming in. You must increase the expectation of appointments set in your group. You must increase the expectation every single month of where money is going in your life. Because do unto your money as you want it to do unto you. If you don't grow, it's not going to grow. If you don't multiply, it's not going to multiply. If you don't stretch, it's not going to stretch. If you don't enlarge or expand or increase, it's not going to enlarge, expand, or increase. The golden rule of money is basically, otherwise, your money expects you to do what you want it to do. Do unto your money as you want it to do unto you. Now the question is, how can you grow and multiply and stretch and enlarge and expand and increase in all the above? How can you change your relationships? How can you change your connection? How can you change the silent signals? How can you change moving from one lifestyle to another? How can you break through these money barriers? Well, that is what the last track is. The next track, we're going to go through some things that's going to help you get at least on the way to creating literally where money creates momentum in your life. And by the way, I want you to get used to the word avalanche. What is that? Very simple. It's where snow comes down a mountain and buries everything. Think of avalanche. That should be your anchor word when you think of money. Avalanche. Why? Because you want to create an avalanche of business and an avalanche of appointments and an avalanche of volume, which is going to create an avalanche of increase and enlargement in your business and life. Avalanche is your new anchor word for money.
Hey all you Dr. Wallach supporters and longevity fans out there. Most of you at some point will have come up against this Nutra-Smart bashing of Dr. Wallach. There are a few articles that are published specifically to tarnish Dr. Wallach and his message. And I have actually written this whole book. This was a few years ago. I wrote a full-length book in rebuttal to these vicious attacks on Dr. Wallach. I believe every objection that you are going to encounter in the field is addressed in this book. It's absolutely a great resource for you to have as a distributor. And if you do ever have anybody coming up to you saying, I heard what you said about Dr. Wallach and I was going to look into some of his vitamins, but I came up against this article on the internet, Nutra-Smart article is probably the one they read. So it's a great deal, guys. I put it up very cheap. It's just another tool in our toolbox. And the Amazon link is in the description of this video. Make sure to check out our food YouTube channel called Notus Foods. This is 100% Dr. Wallach approved. And the chef that is preparing the food here and teaching you how to follow Dr. Wallach's food guidelines and Dr. Glidden's food guidelines. He's an industry professional, over 22 years experience and a college diploma to back it up. And we do have experienced cooks and bakers as well, working on content for the YouTube channel Notus Foods and the Instagram channel Notus Foods. It's 100% gluten-free, oil-free, all the stuff about burning fats and all of the rules that you would need to know or follow. We're here to teach it to you here, as well as give you tons of ideas for recipes, individual dishes, and meals. Of course, in the near future, we do have a cookbook coming out. Stay tuned for it. And if you'd like to talk to us directly, you can call us. Actually, you can call Judy. She's downriver Detroit. You can call from anywhere in the US, Canada, Mexico, UK, Australia, New Zealand, any other country. You want to email us or send us a DM on whatever app that you want to contact us on. Instagram is super convenient for us. And that's for any sales or product information in those countries or any distributor information.